Good morning. As you can see, I'm Andy's sucker of the week. He actually asked me to speak probably a little bit over a month ago, I think, and I successfully avoided it for several weeks. In fact, Brian came and asked my wife, Casey, to speak in the intersection service, and so she did that, and I thought, okay, surely this absolves me of any responsibility to have to speak in front of everyone, because if you know Casey, she's more than capable of being the spokesperson, being the mouthpiece, the one making her opinion known. So, I thought, okay, they've heard from Casey. There's no way we want to hear from the lesser farmer, so I don't have to do it. But no, Andy persisted. So he texted me last week and asked if I could still do this. And so I went back actually and watched Jennifer Bird's speech from a couple weeks ago to hype myself up, because I was, I didn't want to do it, right? Like her, I feel very uncomfortable speaking in public. But I had this kind of feeling in the pit of my stomach, this guilt for wanting to say no. So I watched her speech and kind of hyped myself up and told him I would do it. So I relented. So like everyone else, he asked me to speak about why I'm faithful to this church. So I was sitting there trying to think of reasons, and probably like most of you, the first thing that came to mind was my family. So I have a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old, James and Alice, and the two of them absolutely love this church. They're probably the most faithful people in the church, right? They love being here. Alice is the highlight of her week each week is Wednesday Night Live. In fact, she asks about it, Mondays, Tuesdays, Fridays. It doesn't really matter. She's asking, can we go to Wednesday Night Live? And she's always disappointed because the answer is no unless it's Wednesday. But she's just dying to get into that gym, visit with Ann Travis and Allegra, her best friends, to go, visit with Alan, or as she knows him, the ice cream man, and just, fill herself up with desserts, really not ever eat dinner. She's dying to go see Miss Dot in the nursery. So believe me when I tell you, it's the highlight of her week for sure. And then James, my 6-year-old, I don't think there's ever been a day where he's left church and he's not been drenched in sweat from playing kickball or snag with his buddies. So for both of my kids, their best friends are the friends that they've made in this church. That really means a lot to me, and it's really not just the kids either, right? So just the adults who volunteer, in the children's ministry, in the music ministry, in Sunday school, and the wisdom and the lessons they impart on my kids is really meaningful for us as well. So, in fact, just I think a week or two ago, we were asking James what he learned in Sunday school, and he kind of exasperatedly said, we learned about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego again. It's really just the same story as Daniel in the lion's den. So he's giving me the literary parallels between those two. So according to him, it's the exact same story, and they're just switching out the characters. And so apparently there was a big writer's strike going on at that time when Daniel was writing the book, and they had to recycle some material. But so it's the people, right? So it's the kids, the friends that they've made, the adults that they're learning from, that are making a huge difference in the way they're experiencing life. And that reason alone, I think, is enough to make me want to come give my time to this church and make sure it's everything it can be. But beyond that, a big reason that I'm faithful is I just see that there's a need, right? So when there's a need, I feel like someone has to step up and kind of fill that need, and I'm happy to do that. Sometimes it's inconvenient, sometimes it's really uncomfortable, but I think the church cannot be successful if the congregation, if you guys are not willing to, make yourselves uncomfortable, to, inconvenience yourselves and kind of put in the time to make the church everything it can be. I think God demands that of us, right? To find the time to volunteer at the church, to spend time with the church, to get to know your fellow congregation. When Andy's asking for volunteers and you're like me and you start thinking, I do not want to do that, that sounds terrible, but then you feel that guilt in your stomach. I think that guilt is God sort of calling you to kind of, pull you deeper into the community, and I think you have to answer that call. I think that's a commitment that we all made, right? Our vows say we have to faithfully participate in the church through our presence and our gifts and our service. And I don't think there's ever been a time in this church's history when we've needed, where it's needed you more. So, I think it's important that we all show up and be present, that we share our gifts with the church, and that we volunteer wherever we can. So, go talk to John Frazier about helping out at Wednesday Night Live. Talk to Jennifer Landers about volunteering for Birthday Gift for Christ. Drew Howard about the Honduras mission. Talk to Laura Rivera about how you can help corral small children in the children's ministry, or talk to Andy or Brian, or go to this missions fair and try to find your way to use your gifts and contribute.